E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinois, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinois Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proud to bring to you today, and starting this week, a great series on storytelling. And why storytelling is so important for business people, and no matter what your occupation is or what your profession is, storytelling is a very effective communication tool that allows you to connect your brand to your customers. And by telling them a story, my goodness gracious, that you can share product information and introduce customers to your brand, and most importantly, tell them why they need your business and your brand there. I'm getting all tongue-tied here trying to click different things, but I've got the master of storytellers with me today, a gentleman who is fantastic in this arena. I'm going to be giving Emerson as much latitude and longitude as he needs to be able to get the message over. Hopefully we can get this covered in one show. If not, we may have to do two. We will follow the energy on that. So let's welcome Mr. Emerson Brantley to the show. There he is.
Hello.
How you doing, sir?
Hello, Jim.
How you doing, sir? Well, today is July the 11th. Let's kick off with a few holidays here. And one of the days that they mention here is the National Free Slurpee Day. If you can find a free Slurpee, be sure and enjoy it. But yeah, it's
after
amazing.
The show.
Yep, after the show. And National State Fair Food Day. When I think about going to the state fair, any type of baseball
right
game,
here, Jim. I'm feeling it.
Circus. I'm talking about hot dogs and stuff like that. It just
Hot
comes to my
dogs,
mind.
Geez, that's lightweight stuff. How about kielbasa and sausage dogs?
Yeah.
Onions and bell peppers simmered on the grill, and fat balls stuffed with cream and fried butter. Don't forget that fried butter. Oh my God.
Mercy. Today is also the day to nationally cheer up the lonely. If you know someone that's lonely in your life, you know, that someone is suffering or maybe going through a hard time, you might want to make an effort to, give them a call, send them a message, cheer them up a little bit.
Only the lonely.
And also we love our pets today here in America, and it could be no matter where you are, it's the pet photo day, because we love taking photos of our pets, and they are little hams when it comes to doing that. They really are.
They are. And I saw something just this weekend about this dog that had been hit by a car and had learned to walk on its hind legs. And he's become a sensation on the internet.
Wow.
He walks with a leash on his hind legs. So
that's amazing. I haven't seen that. I got to look that up.
Yeah, man.
And here is a lost art, that's for sure, is the International Town Criers Day. Here you
still have them, Jim.
Do they still have them?
I don't know.
Yeah.
2 o'clock and all's well.
Yeah, that's right.
Did he go to sleep already?
Yeah, I hear you. And in addition to that, some more holidays. International Essential Oil Day.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Those. I mean, essential oils. That is a great topic to talk about. And I mean, we don't have time today, but man, those essential oils, what they can do for our bodies. Oh my goodness.
And for your pets too.
Yes.
And for your pets too. You want to stop them from itching and scratching and all sorts of other things. The essential oils are the key.
Oh yeah. Without putting any kind of chemicals on them or anything.
Yes.
How about National Blueberry Muffin Day? Can you handle some of those, Emerson?
Oh man, I might need a room for that one.
I hear you. And I don't know why I don't even know why they'd have this day. I don't know who they're talking about. They're talking about the National Culture and Senior Citizens Day. I don't know who they're talking about there.
I haven't met any. No.
Yeah. That's still 40, 50 years away for us, right, Emerson?
I don't know. Maybe it's the blue hair. Maybe it's the blue hair,
Yeah. Also, yeah, National Rainier Cherry Day.
What is it?
National Rainier Cherry Day.
Rainier Cherry.
No, Rainier Cherry Day.
Like Mount Rainier, or?
Yes, Rainier.
Huh. Okay.
And they look kind of, look at the photograph, they're kind of yellow and got a little red on them and stuff. They're not like a bean cherry that we're all familiar with, the red ones. And also today is National Swimming Pool Day, but wrapping this thing up, I'm telling you right now.
This is silliness, Jim. This really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you.
But this is a good lead in to today's topic.
Yeah, it is. And I'm going to just turn it over to you while I'm thinking about the National State Fair, the food day there, the hot dogs, the sausages, the popcorn. But Emerson, today we want to talk about the lost art of storytelling. And I'm just going to turn the mic over to you and let you take it out because you're a great instructor on this. I've attended several classes you've taught. This is one of them. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you, sir.
Well, stories are what life is about. In fact, it's been said that, life is a story. And when the story stops, life stops. And in many ways, your story is your story. It's what we play in our head over and over and over again. And that's our reality. Our perception of our world becomes our reality. Our story becomes our story. And sometimes those stories are good and sometimes they're not so good. But today, what I really want to talk about is using stories to convey concepts, using stories to convey values, using stories to bring people around to a place of agreement with you. Now, there are two different groups of people here. There are lots of groups of people, but one of you who's watching, this is just about dealing with family or your kids, or the stories that you tell internally, personally. And for some of you, you have a business, and this is about your business. Now, my background has been in marketing and in sales most of my career. So for me, I tend to gravitate towards the business side of it, but it really doesn't matter because in both cases, stories are an integral part. And learning to tell your story or stories or using stories in a way that other people get it, that's the key word, other people get it, is key. So we've all heard what's in it for me. Well, what's in it for me from a marketing perspective, it means I've got to be talking in language and in a way that other people get it and understand it and embrace it, use it, and can act on it. If you're working with your kids or if you're telling family stories or anything else, it really is the same thing. And here's the newsflash. In Hollywood and in books and everything else, it's the same. Stephen King has a formula that he uses in all of his novels. If you go to Hollywood, they have what's known as the hero's journey, which has 14 or 15 steps in it, but you can research it online yourself. I could go in and show you how it doesn't matter if it's Harry Potter or if it doesn't matter if it's some other adventure that you're looking at. The storyline ends up following a certain pattern. Now, to keep it simple, the most basic part of that pattern is the beginning, the middle, and the end. What's in the middle? The middle is the catharsis, the transition, the moment, the time, the thing that changed the outcome from what you would have expected at the beginning. So we want to keep it really simple for everybody, Jim.
Yes.
one of the basic things to do is to go back, and you can do all of this online these days. Go back and look at things like Aesop's fable, where he's talking about the tortoise and the hare, right? Or any of the other Aesop's fables that are there, where there's a story being used, and there's a beginning, and there's a middle, and there's an end, and there's a concept that the story is sharing. Now, when we're talking with our kids, whether we're sharing a family story or whether we're trying to teach them a lesson, we're doing the same thing. And when you're telling the story of your business, your product, your services, the things that make you who you are, your story, it's the same thing. So I want to just put it in that kind of a context, Jim.
Sure.
Stories are the core of it all, from the cave people way back when, all the way up to the movies, the TV shows, and the things and the books that we read and watch today.
One of the things I like to add to that, because when we first started this particular series back during the 2020 lockdown with COVID and all that stuff, we had a young lady that was on there, and she was involved in a very severe car accident one morning. And she started out sharing her story with us about how she was trying to get the kids, fed and out the door to go to school and all that. And she was running behind, running late. She gets in the car. She's driving through a red light. I mean, not through the red light. She's driving through an intersection. She had the green light, but the other cross traffic, they were supposed to stop. Well, this dump truck, Big Mac dump truck, did not stop. And she's going through, she didn't see it, and it just plowed right into her driver's door. And my point being is she's sharing what she's experiencing, what she's seeing, that Big Mac grill staring at her, pushing her car. The engine is not slowing down, so evidently the driver didn't hear her. You're sitting there in the car with her. And that is one of the great things about storytelling. You're taking people along in the journey in that particular case. And in other cases, you're taking them where they are to where they want to be.
All right.
And a lot of the TikTokers now, a lot of people on there, they're telling stories about mysteries and stuff. And they do a good little job of it, because they start back on this date. This is when it happens. And they take them through the sequence of events. And it really is, because Emerson's, we talked the other day in preparing for the show, a lot of people get distracted. They give all this other information in the story, and many times they're talking about things of interest to them that really has nothing to do with the story.
Oh, yeah.
For example, if I was going to share something real quickly about going to a convention in Chicago, and I left Atlanta, and I was going on my way up to Chicago and looking forward to the convention and all that. But if I start telling side stories like, well, I had to stop at this little town, and I was getting gas, and across the way was a farmer's market. And I went over there, and oh my goodness, they had some of the best ice cream and apple pie I've ever had in my life. When you bit into that ice cream and that apple pie, both of them, because now the person trying to follow you on that journey to Chicago says, what are we doing here?
They don't know the dots. They don't. We have to make the dots that are important and connect those dots for them, because they don't know what they are. We have our little cosmos in our head, and all of this stuff kind of fits together in this perfect picture. But the thing is, for somebody else, they don't have all of those other pieces. So they don't get any of that, and they're lost. They are lost. And we, if we're going to tell a story to ourselves, it's one thing, okay? And that story can be a wonderful story for you, Jim.
Exactly.
You can just savor. You can taste it. Oh my gosh! The fresh fruit, and I hadn't had any. And I wish I could go back just to buy that one thing, because it was just so. And the way they had it all arranged, and the image of it, it's all so fresh in your mind. That's your story. That's not my story.
Yes.
Because I wasn't there. And I don't know
Yeah.
what any of that stuff has to do with the fact that you were on the way to Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. Plus the fact, another thing too, I could be so enthused and sharing my excitement about that apple pie. And what if someone is there as a diabetic or someone trying to lose weight? They
Oh,
don't want to
sure.
hear about that. That's a
No,
turnoff. So that's an
that doesn't mean
unnecessary
anything to them.
thing. You just threw a wrench in the machine in your story there.
So stories have a purpose. And, one of the things that I highly recommend is that people go back. We've all heard of Aesop's fables, and
Mhm.
most of us know a few of them, like the turtle, tortoise, and the hare, and some other, is to go back and look at some of those. You can do it very easily online these days.
Mhm.
And, and just think about the way that a story is being used to make a point.
Mm.
And so often, when we are talking with people, we're wired to create a narrative in our mind. And so when all we're doing is having a discussion with somebody, this is especially important today, and just tying together all these facts, if we can make a story that pulls the concepts together, now the facts mean something.
Mhm.
Now in business, stories are probably the most powerful thing that we have.
Mhm.
I have absolutely used stories for years in order to convey a point. And I'm going to give you just a couple of examples here, Jim. And then
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example that is one of the biggest names in the country and how a story created billions of dollars in business for them. A simple story.
Mhm.
So there's a principle or a study or an experiment having to do with a fish called a pike, Pike. And you can go online and look it up. You can actually see some of the old, I mean, these are old, they're lousy quality, old videos of the experiment using this fish. And here's what they did. In fact, I'm going to read from where an email, Jim, that I actually used this example.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay. Years ago, scientists put a northern pike, a freshwater predator, into an aquarium with a glass divider. They fill the other side with minnows, and the hungry pike lunged for them, banging his nose on the glass again and again and again and again. You get the picture?
Mhm.
Here's an aquarium. Here's this fish, and they put a glass divider there, and they put his favorite food on one side, and the hungry pike kept going until his face, his nose was just bloodied,
Mhm.
until you can see what happens here, Jim, right? The pike gave up. The scientists removed the glass. Now the minnows were swimming all around this fish, right into his open mouth, but he'd given up. He wouldn't even try. He knew he'd just get hurt again. The pike syndrome showed the scientist, it proved how conditioned thoughts, beliefs, and habits can cripple you, hold you back, cause uncertainty, doubts, fears, and anxieties that are no longer even real.
Mhm.
And even when you have the opportunity of a lifetime, the food is all around you, it's all right there. Something holds you back,
Yes.
and you don't take action.
Mhm.
Even when it's on a silver platter.
Mhm.
And that fish literally starved to death. From what? From fear, from pain, from past story in its head. If I go for it, I'm just going to hurt my nose again. And I don't want to
Mhm.
do that. That fish starved to death. Now, how much is that like us? You're smarter than that fish, aren't you, Jim?
Oh, I hope so.
When you're presented with, you see how I can transition this over into a direction that I want to lead that viewer or reader. You're smarter than that fish, aren't you? You're not going to let some old conditioned thoughts and feelings and things hold you back when you've got this being presented on a silver platter for you. So the power of the story is, I didn't say, Jim, you got fear. That's what it is. You got fear. You don't want to be hurt, Jim. You got fear. And that fear is holding you back because you're scared. I didn't have to say any of that kind of stuff. I could use a story to illustrate it and to show the concept in a way that made you say instead, yeah, I'm smarter than that fish. I'm not going to let something hold me back. I can make a decision. I can go for it when it's right in front of me. So stories give us the opportunity to suspend disbelief and to transport people into a different story, into a different place, and see analogies and metaphors and things, and then apply them ourselves towards whatever it is that we're trying to think about or decide on or learn from. With our children, stories are very powerful. Oh, yeah. Very powerful. And if you go and you look at some of the things, the Aesop's fables, the boy who cried wolf. Yeah. Right? The tortoise and the hare, some of the other ones. You know, the boy who cried wolf. He cried wolf. And he thought he'd have some fun. He was bored, so he cried wolf. And everybody came running, and there was no wolf. And so then one night he's sitting on the hillside, and a wolf starts attacking his sheep. And he cries wolf again, and nobody comes. He doesn't have any help. The townspeople don't come out to help him because he's fooled them 2 or 3 times. So tricking people and being dishonest. See, there's an analogy in there. There's a metaphor that we use the story to tell in a way that comes in under the radar, if you will. And your kids, your children, grandchildren, get it. Your potential customers, clients, get it. And when we are trying to convey complex thoughts, especially, a story is the way to do it. Yeah. You know, back, hundreds of years ago, even thousands of years ago, people taught others through parables, through stories, because they didn't have the printed word. I mean, Gutenberg didn't print the press to 14, whatever it was, but they used stories, and some of the classic examples you'll find in the Bible with Jesus teaching a parable as a story to get the people around him to understand the importance of what he was saying. The sower sows the word. Some of it falls in good ground, some of it falls on stony ground, some of it falls among thorns. And then he makes the analogy of all of the different places that your job is to be the sower, right? You can't determine the ground. Yes. And as you sow, if you just sow, if you just are sharing, if you're spreading the word, in this case, is the analogy, but the sower is putting the seed out. Some of it will come back 30, 40, 50, 100 times. Another one is casting the bread on the water. If you cast your bread on the water, it will return to you after many days. It'll come back to you. Again, on waves, it'll continue to come back to you. So it's the idea of sowing and reaping, the idea of planting and harvesting. And it's all of these different concepts, and he used stories so that we would understand the concept. If he just said, just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. Don't ask questions. Just keep doing it. You just keep doing it, doing it, doing it. It's like nobody's gonna. that wouldn't get very far.
Yeah. One of the things that I very seldom post. Here recently, I posted some positive things, but a lot of people every day they post a positive message, and I know I might get in trouble with some people on this. Emerson, you even may disagree with this, but I'm thinking about, saying something positive is a good thing, but it's kind of like, is that all there is? You know what I mean? I mean, you got to be able to, when you take people on a journey, and especially people who are looking for something or needing something, you got to be able to take them to where the source is to get it. And the story is hey, that's me. This is what I've been looking for. This is what I need. That's the purpose of the story. And a lot of people just put up, uh, feel good today, say, have a great day. Nice little sayings, but there's so much more to life than that. And they do that just put something up there just to keep their Facebook page on top or whatever. But I just never have subscribed to that. Sometimes I'll put up funny stuff.
Well, there's a place. There's always a place for thoughts that trigger and inspire. Inspire is an overused word, but they trigger and they challenge, and they are their commentary on the things that are going on.
Right.
And engage people. And part of social media, a big part of social media is your level of ability to engage the people who are following you. And that's led to an awful lot of things like what you're talking about, where people have the memes and the things that they post. They post something every single day. It's like, if you make it a little more relevant to the things that are happening right now, and you begin to bring that into the equation, now the level of engagement tends to go up because it means more to people.
Exactly. You said it much better than I did. And while we're on our marquee there, Charlene Fouts, as a charity, she has Healing Acres Never Again. It's the charity that we officially recognize here. Charlene is part of our family here. She also helps us with broadcasts and things like that. And Charlene is suffering from COVID, and she's got a fever. She's felt real bad this weekend. So we want to let Charlene know that our thoughts and prayers are with her, and we hope you get to feeling better good, and bless her heart. It just just yank the carpet out from under her feet. So we're hoping for hope you get feeling better real soon, Charlene. And Healing Acres Never Again. Let me just simply say, Healing Acres Never Again. Their motto is very, very simple. It's about, it actually exists, and I'm going to read this. Healing Acres Never Again exists to restore the lives of people who have been scarred by sexual abuse, domestic violence, incest, rape, and abortion by providing support, education, mentoring, and guidance in a Christ-centered environment. And that is one worthy cause that we're honored to not only to be associated with the Healing Acres Never Again, which is also known as HANA. You shorten it as an acronym, but also to have Charlene Fouts with us, because she started with us originally as a host on the show, and then with her job and being a trainer and with the airlines and being here, there, and yonder, she was not able to stay with us, but she is back now, and we're so fortunate, and we're just hope and pray that she gets feeling better real soon and gets over that COVID. You're in our thoughts and prayers, Charlene.
Yeah, sure.
So I just wanted to put that in there, because a lot of people, have come down with that nasty stuff, and it's, it worries a lot of people still. It really does.
I love the fact, there's bringing this home to the story part. Okay. There's an awful lot of discussion around recent Supreme Court decisions and things like that. And here's something that her organization is doing that, to me, is a great hook into the story. And that's something that I've always believed, which it's better to light one candle than curse the darkness. So now, instead of marching and protesting and fighting and everything else, and it's like, we're going to do something that's going to light a candle and be a resource and be a help. So you can see how an organization like hers could create an entire storyline to reach people and talk with people, potential supporters and others, people who need their services. But now the narrative, the story, is telling it in a way that you have to move. You literally have to move out of all of the yelling and screaming and everything else out in the world, and you can get down to just one person talking to another person. And a story allows us to do that and drop the guard a little bit and be able to share a little bit, just as people. Stories are magic. They're magic. And they don't have to be pitching in order to get the point across.
Not at all.
And one of the examples you asked me to share is from one of the largest names. Everybody who's viewing this would know the name Wall Street Journal. Huge. Doesn't matter if you follow them, subscribe to them, don't subscribe to them, like them, don't like them. They're a huge news brand and have been, around for 100 years or more. So they did a campaign many years ago that has become famous among people like me who write and who market and who do things like this and have done it thousands upon thousands of times over. This is a classic, and it's known as the story of the two young men. And again, our viewers, you can look it up online and read it. It's a 2-page letter that they wrote. A brilliant copywriter by the name of Martin Conroy wrote it. And I'm going to read just a few pieces of it, Jim. Again, our viewers can go online and see the entire thing. But it starts out, on a beautiful spring afternoon 25 years ago, two young men graduated from the same college. They were very much alike, these two young men. Both had been better than average students. Both were personable. And both, as young college graduates are, were filled with ambitious dreams for the future. Recently, these men returned to their college for their 25th reunion. They were still very much alike. Both were happily married, both had 3 children, and both, it turned out, had gone to work for the same Midwestern manufacturing company after graduation and were still there. But there was a difference. Okay, so a story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The middle is where the catharsis happens, where the transition happens, where the moment happens, where you see the two different paths and that are diverging. There was a difference. One of the men was the manager of a small department of the company. The other was its president. Here's the middle. Here's the catharsis. Here's the moment. What made the difference? Now, what's amazing in this letter, and I really encourage everybody who's viewing this to go online and just look up the Wall Street Journal Two Young Men letter. What's amazing in the letter is there's no single place in this letter where it said the difference was that the president subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, and you should subscribe to the Wall Street Journal so you don't forget, order before midnight tonight and subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. Never says it. Never, not once. All it does is tell the story. Have you ever wondered, as I have, what makes this kind of difference in people's lives? It isn't native intelligence, talent, dedication. It isn't that one person wants to succeed and the other doesn't. The difference lies in what each person knows and how he or she makes use of that knowledge. So it's a brilliant, brilliant use of story, an analogy, metaphor to paint a picture of these two paths. And now I want to know about these two different paths. Mm-hmm. And again, the brilliance in this is it was so well done that it never once said, the difference was he subscribed and he didn't. You should subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. Never had to say that. The story, your story, is powerful enough. You don't have to hammer the nails in the coffin. The story is powerful enough to convey it. Now, Martin Conroy wrote this. It was unbeaten, Jim, unbeaten for 28 years. The Wall Street Journal continually tested to find something that would work better. Nothing that they did worked better for 28 years. And it sold 55% of all the Wall Street Journal subscriptions. We're talking billions of dollars.
Wow.
Page letter that never once said, subscribe now to the Wall Street Journal.
That is tremendous right there, folks, because my goodness gracious, so many people think if I get on stage as a speaker, if I do this, if I advertise, if I make videos, whatever, I got to pitch.
Oh, yeah.
And the more you pitch, the more you yourself are likely to strike out, because people are not into pitches, but people love stories. They always have. For thousands of years. That's the way our brains were trained prior to the printing press. That's the way we learned, through stories. And it's a very effective tool, my goodness. And Emerson's website there, I had to kind of contact him. His email is web3 at web3direct.com. And his website, let me scroll up here, down here to it.
Web3direct.com, you just said it.
Yeah, web3direct.com. Mm-hmm.
Now, what I want to point out here, I want to add this to it.
Sure.
I can't show the slides like you got to see this when you took the program that I was teaching. But Martin Conroy didn't just wake up in the middle of the night after eating too much pizza and come up with this idea. He looked back, he found old pieces from the past, and he went back, and in 1918 there was a newspaper ad, the story of two men from the Civil War, and another one in 1919 it was the story of two clerks in New York City who began together a few years ago, side by side, each earning the same amount. And he used the concept of these two paths, these two people who basically were the same people. Now, my mama didn't raise no dope. And in 1993, I did a letter that basically used the same concept and said, have you ever tried to figure out the secret to someone's success? Have you ever wondered why two similar people, both honest with similar backgrounds and intelligence, can start with the same or similar businesses? One becomes eminently successful while the other seems to just flounder around, never really breaking through. What's the secret? What is it that makes the one and broke the other? Is it destiny? Here I begin asking these questions. These are the normal excuses that we give ourselves, right, Jim?
Oh, yeah.
Is it chance? Maybe positive thinking, natural ability? Was it money? Was it just hard work? Maybe a better location? Was it lady luck? What was the advantage the one had over the other? I see it repeated every day. I stand in front of large groups of people doing hands-on training and giving them the facts they need to start and run a successful business, yet I see some prosper awesomely, while others just seem to get by. And so as I go down in this letter, I talk about asking an expert in the business about this. What is it that makes the difference? Makes one mediocre and one supremely successful? And I say his answer shocked me. I don't know if I was prepared for the brutal honesty. It hit me like a hammer. You hear the energy and the
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Because it wasn't the easy answer I was looking for. You know, the universal cure-all, do this or do that, and everything else will fall into place. And then I asked them, are you looking for the easy answers? If so, read no further. You and I were talking about the takeaway the other day. That's takeaway, isn't it?
And it sure is.
You will be dissatisfied with what you find in this very special letter. It's taken me 10 years to write this. And if you're ready for real life answers to real life problems, then sit down, set aside the next half hour. This is about a 12-page letter, Jim.
Yeah.
And listen to what I had to learn. What every entrepreneur in the country must learn to have any kind of chance at all at success in today's economy. Now, I won't go into that any further. Here was the upshot. I had been tasked, Jim, with filling a seminar that was $10,000 per attendee. I had never done that before. That was way outside of anything that I had any sense that I could get people to pay.
Wow.
But I used a story. And we put 68 people in the room at $10,000 a seat. That's the power of stories. If I can do that marketing an event, how powerful can it be when you're trying to convey values to your kids or to your employees and staff or to your customers and clients, in trying to convey a concept or get them to make a decision that you know they need to be making, and to guide them using the power of a story. That is probably the most powerful thing in the world, in my humble but accurate opinion, Jim.
I knew you was going to say humble opinion there. I got to ask you too. The event that was $10,000 a seat, and you got 68 seats, 68 tickets sold. What was the event about? Can you share that with us? What was the event about, and can you share a little bit of what kind of a story you shared there?
I was working with a company that provided training to people to help them learn how to buy and sell real estate entrepreneurs. At that time, this is important too. At that time, a 3-day real intensive training ran about $1,000. And people would fly in to get really deep, intensive training for $1,000. This was $10,000 a seat. This was, I believe we had 8 or either 10 really good name people in that same space. And each one of them was providing training during the several days of this event. So it was within that space. But what's important is this was probably the very first event of its type, at least in that space, but the very first event of its type that had ever been done. And at that price, there was nobody that I was aware of in the business that was doing anything at all that was priced like that.
Yeah.
Now today I get things relatively often. I think the event you came down to, the training that I did, I don't remember how many thousands of dollars you spent for that.
Oh yeah.
Through the group that I was doing that with, and as you're aware, There are people who bought 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 of trainings, different trainings from that group.
Yes. Yes.
But this is 20 years before all of that.
Mm.
So this is very much outside of anything that was happening. And we put 68 people in the room. 68 people. All because of a story. All because of a story.
Mm.
Your stories matter. They're not just fun things that you do when you're sitting around having the barbecues, or things that make your kids roll their eyes. Your stories matter. But what's really important is the telling of the story. And you pointed this out, Jim. I'm going to just reframe it a little differently. The telling of the story, the important part is the editing of it so that you keep it on track. You give them the points that matter in that story. And if you want to talk about how you went across the street to the farmer's market and you found all this other stuff, that's a different story. What matters is, what are the points they need to keep up with to come to the conclusion that you're leading them to?
Yes. Yes.
Because a story has, always remember this, it has a beginning, has a middle, and it has an end. The end, there's a conclusion. Your conclusion may be for everybody to laugh at the story, right? Your conclusion may be to convey a fable or a parable or something with a lesson in it. Your conclusion may be to get them to get off of their duff and make a decision that they need to make.
Call to action.
A call to action, whether that's with your children, grandchildren, or with a prospective client or customer, and getting those, or vendor for that matter. But you can use stories in a powerful way to get to that point. But there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And your editing of it is more important than your joy in telling it. It really is.
That's really amazing, because you're so accurate, because so many times we want to share in our excitement and in being able to feel like we want to connect with folks out there. We want to share our personal experience with them on the way we went and what we saw and what we smelled and all that. And there is a place and a time to get the emotions, the senses involved, but not when it's all about you. It's all about what's in it for the people you are leading on that journey.
Yes.
And like Emerson said right out of the gate, first thing, because your good story it should immediately attract the people that you can help right out of the gate and repel everybody else that's not interested. If it's a story about losing weight, you want to be able to start out taking them on a journey. And those who are not interested in losing weight, they just want to, I'm not riding on that wagon. I'm not going.
Right.
And that's part of it. But in those who come on board with you, you owe it to them to be able to keep them guided, keep them focused on the end result, the target. Whether it be, like Emerson said, whether it be a joke or whether it be a call to action, whatever it might be, but you got to keep them focused on it. You can't take these detours into shopping and getting ice cream or having apple
rabbit
pie.
Trails, I call them.
Yeah, rabbit trails. Yeah. Or when you get to the next town, make sure you stop in and see this person here. They got great deals on shoes. Oh, I could use a new pair of shoes. So what? The person's not on that journey to hear about you buying a new pair of shoes.
No, and they didn't have the kind of tennis shoes that I wanted. So I had to, but they sent me to another town and I found those. And sooner or later, it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about here.
Yeah. Where are we going,
Yeah. Where's this going to?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I've shared for those of you who've been through different therapy, what they call occupational therapy, it drives me nuts. It's like the stuff that I do every day is really occupational therapy, but figuring out if Susie has 3 ducks and 2 chickens, and duck eggs are $1.69 and chicken eggs are 99 cents, and a chicken lays 2 eggs a day and a duck lays 1, and she needs $37 to get from here to Atlanta on the bus. It's like, I'm about to explode by that moment, because it is so irrelevant, and there's so many little moving pieces and things that don't have anything to do with anything, and it just, you lose it, and you lose people. If you've ever told a joke, okay, say I don't tell jokes, okay, heard a joke, okay, and telling that joke was the funniest thing in the world for you or for whoever it was that was telling it, and the other people are standing around kind of looking at each other going, I guess you had to be there. I don't know. I don't get it. If you've ever had that experience, that's why editing your story, getting those breadcrumbs in a row, making sure all of those lead them to the same place, and not allowing yourself to go down all the little rabbit trails is so important. And that's doubly important if you're trying to convey something to your children or grandchildren, some values, some concepts, or if you're trying to get a prospective client or existing client or customer to make a quality decision and to move in a direction and to get off the fence and to take action. And those things all can happen when we eliminate some of the resistance by simply using a story.
As you were talking, one thing that popped in my mind, it's kind of like a tour guide. You got a group of people, and the tour guide is taking them through, through this area, or it might be a mansion or something like that. And, the same thing can happen there if the tour guide is interested in, cleaning out the fireplace. Well, I remember we used to clean out the fireplace when I was a kid. Oh, it made a lot of mess and this and that. And add all this additional stuff to where people would be standing there wondering, like, what's this got to do with anything? We came here to have this stuff explained to us about where, this expensive cabinet was made out of teak.
Or who are the people here in these paintings up on the wall, and how do they relate to where we're looking at, and when do they come into the picture, instead of going, you can't see it here because it's behind the cordoned off area, but they've got 6 different types of designs on the silver, because they were very eclectic. It's like, who cares? I can't see it. I don't even know what the designs are. Who are these people up here that's in these paintings around me?
Yeah, because you're like a tour guide. You're going to be taking people along, and you don't want to lose them, is what Emerson has been saying all the way through.
Right.
And you don't want to confuse them. You don't want to give them so many facts that they don't know, okay, what are we talking about here? Because a lot of times that happens when you're talking to people, and they just start spilling what is it that you do? Well, I do blah, 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 and, just people ask me, what do I do? I'm a producer and TV host on a television show and a radio show. That's it. That's what I do. Plain simple.
And I help businesses figure out who they don't want as a customer and figure out who they do want, and then create campaigns that shut down servers, blow out phone systems, and knock employees out the door because of too much new business.
You've done that too. That's just not some fancy words. I mean, he's done that too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he had so many people calling an 800 number one time. The guy says, "How come we're spending all this money on an 800 number?" Or it was several 800 number. You had several programs.
Oh yeah. The new CFO, to try to make himself look good, ended up canceling a bunch of 800 numbers, and I had thousands of dollars of campaigns out there that were using these different numbers.
Yeah, and then they wonder what's happening to the business now. When you shut down the way people communicate with us, it's kind of like, are you in there?
That's it.
Knock on his head. Oh my goodness, we've had a lot of fun today, and I imagine is there some more things you want to share in storytelling, the importance of the lost art of storytelling. You want to? Did we cover everything today that you wanted to cover?
Pretty much we covered everything. The thing is that storytelling is a way for you to be able to convey things through a comparison or analogy, like the little boy cried wolf, or metaphors or similes. life is a journey. Life is like a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Different illustrations. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever experienced that? Maybe you know someone who did this. Maybe you know someone who fables and myths and legends and your own personal experience are stories about your own kids or your pets or historical events or current events. But you can take those and you can use them to bring people to a place. And again, that place may be laughing at the silliness of it. It may be making a decision that they've been sitting on a fence about. It may be choosing to change the path of their life from one place to another place. It can be any of a number of things, but a story has a purpose. Stories are not just, they're fun to tell. Stories have a purpose. And when you're clear on the purpose and when you're clear on what it's going to mean to the person you're telling and what action it may change in their life, now you have a powerful tool that you can use that's a whole lot better than you just telling people what to do.
Oh, yeah, it really is. It's really amazing. And, Emerson, we want to thank you for being with us today because the inspiration you've shared with us, the knowledge and the wisdom and things that we can research in as we go forward in this week about the lost art of storytelling. And we're also going to be helping not only you folks out there, we're going to be helping ourselves too, because that's one of the nice things about training people. The trainer always learns too, along with the students. That is, if they're a good teacher. I've said that for many years, and I'm a former and certified instructor in the United States Army, 12 years experience. I never taught a class in the military that I didn't learn something, because if I did, that tells me I was not properly prepared mentally. And that's the way I look at it. And Emerson, I tell you right now, brother, it's always a pleasure having you here and working with you and having you as a friend. And my goodness gracious, part of our family. I'm just sad we got to bring this hour to a close.
Time to wrap it up, John.
I hear you.
It's the end of this story.
That's right. That's the end of this story. So, and the call to action is tune in tomorrow for our next story.
There you go.
Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, Charlene, we're thinking about you. You're in our thoughts and prayers. We hope you get to feeling better. And for anyone out there suffering from COVID, you're in our thoughts and prayers. And we hope all of you get to feeling better real soon, get well. And be sure and love yourself first, then you can love others. And be sure and share our show with others. Follow us on YouTube, on our Facebook page. Just any way we can help you. You see our email address there. Just email us, inspiration@e360tv.com. We'll be glad to answer anything you have or question you have and supply anything you might need, anything from any of our shows. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Mr. Emerson Brantley, I'm Jim Grant. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.